Welcome to Papillion UnScripted. I am Michael Severe, the place to go to hear from people that truly make Papillion feel like home. Our next guest has had a busy couple of weeks, actually a lot longer than that, but the immediate part of it. The Executive Director of Papillion Community Foundation, Joe Hunter, joining us here. How are you doing?
We survived. We made it to the finish line. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having myself and Olivia, our marketing director, sitting behind the camera today. So we're glad to be here and share a little bit about how the last couple of weeks have gone for us.
It was your first year full-time doing it. How long did it take to recharge your batteries?
We took all of last week off, thankfully, but it was about a 6-month process getting to that finish line for us. So it's always impressive in my mind seeing all the pieces come together in like the final 6 days of Papillion Days. It's always exciting to see and witness all of that. It's a lot of hard work paying off is what we're seeing there. So, but the week worth of recovery was definitely necessary and we definitely enjoyed it.
You have a chance to sit down afterwards and kind of go through and what worked, what didn't work. Was there anything that stood out to you that you'd say, okay, next year this needs to be better?
We had some traffic flow issues in some areas, foot traffic-wise and vehicle traffic-wise. I just think that every year we change a little bit of that here and there. We work really closely with Public Works and the Papillion Police to make sure that we're staying compliant with everything, and they are the experts when it comes to all sorts of stuff in those areas. So really those are probably the two biggest areas that we would make some adjustments in for next year. But overall, this year's event went really well. The 75th anniversary, we couldn't have asked for better weather. People were excited to be out, even though it was a little warm.
Yeah.
Everyone showed up, which is what we always look forward to.
There's a little confusion on the carnival times and tickets and stuff. Will you make sure next year to even emphasize more, buy your wristbands earlier?
Yes, I think that folks are getting more and more into the habit now in today's world, especially after COVID, of pre-purchasing things online, being prepared so you don't have that ticket in hand necessarily that you have to turn in and get a voucher for or anything like that. So we're really trying to emphasize that pre-sale process moving forward. This year was the first year we were able to pre-sale for all 4 days of the carnival. So we're hoping to continue that process moving forward. But normally that sale always opens up about the first 3 weeks prior to Papillion Days. We run it for about 2 weeks, and then we spend the week of Papillion Days distributing those to those folks who have purchased them. So there's some logistics there that are involved that some folks had some questions on. We're going to be sure to communicate those a little bit more in clearer terms for next year. But again, overall, we had a record year with pre-sales this year, so it was huge for us. And that does serve as a fundraiser for the foundation. I think a lot of folks fail to recognize that money does directly impact the community foundation itself. Papillion Days is a fundraiser across the board for us. So when it comes to pre-sale wristbands or sponsorships or even attending the market in the park, all of that revenue is helping us in some way, shape, or form give back to the community. So when the whole community does show up, that shows us that they are really willing to support everyone in the programs and the projects that the foundation runs.
I chatted to it with a couple of the high school kids who were there, asked them about the event, and one of the kids said, what about having it as an app on his phone to where you could use your phone? Is that something that down the road?
We can explore that down the road. We work in partnership with our carnival vendor, Heart of America Shows, to do that process. So we're kind of at the mercy of the technology of our two organizations together. It's not always easy to merge two different IT departments when it comes to something like that. But again, this year was the second year of having the barcoded wristbands that we were able to distribute ahead of time. In the past, you used to have to get a voucher and still go to the ticket booth. So we've eliminated that process for all of our clients, which has been huge. It saves you having to wait in one less line, which is really nice for them. You can just go straight onto your ride once you scan that wristband on that first ride. Your wristband's activated for the hours of operation for that day, and then it's smooth sailing from there on out. Parents can basically roll the kids out of the car and say, go have fun, without having to worry about them standing in a line or having to have cash or a voucher or something getting lost. So,
out of the 4 days, not including opening night, is there a favorite thing that you have now that you had this full year?
You know, I really enjoy the market itself, walking around, getting to know all of our vendors. We had almost 80 vendors down there this year, whether they were nonprofits, businesses, food vendors. We had all sorts of variety down there this year. Getting to know those folks, because a lot of them are local businesses here in the Omaha metro area. That builds a lot of relationships, I think, here in our community for the folks that they're serving as customers, and then for us here at the foundation. A lot of those businesses are small town, family owned, and they stick to the values that this community really has a lot of merit and puts a lot of value into. So we're really excited. That's my favorite part. I get to walk around and meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
Of course, there's always the problems that we have to deal with, whether there's a power breaker flipping off or
Right.
something like that. But in comparison to everything else, those are really minor and make the event. They keep me on my toes for the event is the nice part about
Yeah.
it.
I
Yep.
thought you were going to say the pack band because that would be the end.
Right. The Pac-Man does always bookmark the end of Papillion Days,
Yeah.
and they always do put on a fantastic concert. Unfortunately, this year, due to some teardown stuff that we had going on, I wasn't able to make it out to the
Gotcha.
concert. But I know that they do a great show out at Sumter every year.
Yeah.
Doug and Ken and all the crew that makes that happen. Again, they're a part of the 75 years of tradition of
Yeah.
Papillion Days, so we're always happy to see them participate in that.
So what's your background? How did you end up in this job?
I really have to thank the former executive director of the foundation, Laura Schwartz, for that. She knew that I was looking for something in the nonprofit sector. I was in kind of the corporate America HR field prior to this, and I was looking to go back to school to finish my degree. I wanted something a little more part-time so I could work on that. Quickly, as you can see, it's transitioned into a full-time
A little bit, yeah.
leadership role, which has been really rewarding. Still working on my degree, but it's a balancing act. I think that's kind of the biggest message I have for folks is that you can do anything you want in the world whenever you want, so long as you know how to find the balance there. Again, that's maybe why we took the whole last week off, just to find that balance again,
Yeah.
but it's all totally worth it.
Did you grow up in Papillion?
Yes, I'm born in Omaha. I moved here in the 4th grade, graduated from Papillion La Vista High School, so I've been here for about 15 years now. So Papillion is home for me.
What was your favorite part of Papillion Days growing up?
I love the parade growing up. I think every kid looked forward to that.
Yeah.
You know, you get to see everything that Papillion has to offer, and the parade each year has gotten bigger and bigger to where we're expanding out to businesses throughout the metro area and groups and organizations that all want to participate. So I really think that again, that small town community feel that we have here is drawing those groups in because they all value that small town feel for us. And now I'm on the flip side of that. I get
Right.
to plan and execute everything in conjunction with all of our partners and sponsors. So it's super rewarding. It's definitely more eye-opening being on the back end of it. I appreciate the work that goes into it a lot more than I would if I was just standing on the street there. But you know, folks still showed up. It was almost 100 degrees that day, and folks
Yeah.
still showed up in droves to witness that.
Yeah, even for the car show that I went to, I mean, it was warm,
Right.
but there were a lot of people out there looking at cars. I know at the time when I left, there was about 85 of them out
Right,
there.
right.
I mean, it's hard to get people out when it's really hot, but if it's something that they really like a car show,
Right.
they'll show up.
And especially when it's benefiting a good purpose. The car show this year went to Moving Veterans Forward and benefiting Ron Hernandez and his organization. I think that people now, especially after COVID, find a lot of value in supporting something with a reason, with a cause. And Ron and his organization is definitely one of those homegrown organizations here in Papillion that everyone, I think, can get behind. All the work that he does, it's tremendous. Him and a group of volunteers, and they don't have a paid staff person or anything. So when you're able to go out to an event like a car show that kids can get excited about, it's not necessarily a plated dinner or something like that you can't bring the kiddos to. But bringing the whole family to something like that is always a great way to give back, I think, and that starts to build that next generation of volunteerism and civic-mindedness that we need more and more of in our town.
One of the things we talked about leading up to it was the new website and making it easier for people to use. Did you get any feedback on the new website?
Yep, so we've actually for the first time been able to track our traffic on the website. You know, as we continue to move forward and technology moves forward, I think people want more and more data and analytics to back things up. So we've learned some stuff through our website and its new design for next year. I think we're going to streamline some of our processes on there and the way we lay out our schedule and everything. But again, it was our first year with the new website. It's going to look a little different for next year, but it's still going to be, we're going to try and keep it under 3 clicks for people to buy wristbands, find out when market hours are going, when the carnival's going. So we want to keep it really streamlined for anyone who wants information.
I know you talked about being involved in volunteering and how important that is. There's also public service out there. Is that something in the future that you think about?
Yes, you know, I'm a political science student, so that's really at the heart of my passion. I think everyone should volunteer for a nonprofit organization. I think everyone should work on a political campaign in their life so you can appreciate the efforts that go into making our society work. I think those are 2 keystones in any community. And whether you're on the left or the right or anything political, it doesn't matter. Just get involved, I think, is the message there for a lot of folks. You know, in today's society, I feel like we can sit down at home. It's easy for us to sit on the couch and watch things on the news, but until you can go out and live and experience some of that firsthand, you learn to appreciate it a little bit more.
I ask this to everyone when they come on, because we highlight Papio Vision a lot of different parts of the community and events and places. Is there something growing up here or at least living here most of your life that you'd like to kind of point out to people, that you want to emphasize that's a good place to go to or hang out?
You know, I think that and I can say this with some bias, but I think the Papillion Community Foundation is kind of one of those best kept secrets here in Papillion. We've been around for 25 years now, and I think a lot of people don't know even where our office is at, right here down on Main Street next to Twisted Vine. We're kind of a community resource, and we're building out our programs and our networks to be that volunteer center, that place where people can go and ask those questions and get answers to them. We want to be that conduit, that connector in the community for anyone that wants to get involved, or find a way, if you have a certain thing you're passionate about, for us to serve as a way to get you in touch with someone who can help serve that need for you. So we really want to become that community phone book almost of different causes and programs and projects to work on for folks.
Yeah, old people would say you'd be the 411 information.
Right.
The mayor's mentioned a couple times that the relationship between the city and the community foundation is probably closer than ever. What does that mean and why is that important?
For us, we can't do what we do without the support of the city and all of our partners. I was just doing some of the math this morning. Between our 2 staff persons, myself and our marketing director, and then the network of volunteers we had, we put in almost 450 hours in 6 days worth of time just to make Papillion Days happen. Now that doesn't count the Public Works Department, police and fire and the building department and everyone on the city side that is either working or donating their time to help make an event like that happen. I think it's important for people to understand that we don't just wake up on Monday and say, hey, we're going to have a party on Thursday.
Right.
It takes a lot more than that, and there's a lot of behind-the-scenes action that takes place to make that happen. We start our planning meetings in January with all of the department heads, all the city leaders and everything, and we have full support from the mayor and the city administrator through the city council on down through the departments, which is huge. It makes my job a lot easier when I can trust the people that we're working with, and I think that trust has never been stronger between the foundation and the city.
Couple last things. I go by the Urban Garden each week and try to shoot video to show how it's growing, literally. How is that going so far this season?
It's going well. We could always use some volunteers down there. Again, we're a staff of 2, so it's hard for us to be down there all of the time, and a garden really does require attention every single day.
Right.
So we're working on building out that volunteer network. Again, keep an eye on our website for opportunities there, but just come in and see us at the office if we're there. If not, we're generally down at the garden working out there. So if we're not in one spot, you can generally find us in the other, but we can always use some helping hands down there. This year, again, it's our 2nd year of the garden, and it's going better than it did last year. We learn things every single year, so it's kind of that evolutionary process. I can't wait to see what next year brings, because it's always something new, bigger, better, and exciting.
So now Winter Wonderland, that's where your aim. Kind of talk us through what we have to do now to kind of get ready for that when it comes along.
Yep, so we'll start that planning process in about August is normally when we kickstart that. We get normally the month of July off just to sit and kind of do just garden stuff, which is nice for us. But that planning process for Winter Wonderland starts in August. Even though it's a single night, a 4-hour event, it still takes getting all of the department heads together. It takes getting a bunch of partners and community resources pulled together to make it happen. So I think you're going to see a lot of similar things to last year. I think there's going to be a few surprises and some new things this year as well. There's more to come on that later, but we're going to start that process in August and hopefully have another great year. Pray for some good weather, because we had great weather last year.
Yeah. It's kind of a mix though, right? I mean, sure you want nice weather, but wouldn't it be kind of cool to have a little bit of snow? For something called Winter Wonderland?
Yeah, yes and no. We have the concept of bringing snow machines in before has been discussed.
Right.
We want it to be as close to a Hallmark movie as we can get it, or if you were to go to Disney World, we want it to have that same atmosphere while having our Papillion charm added in there. So having the fire pits line Main Street and everything is huge. And really everyone just walking around having a good time. You don't see anyone with a frown on their face at Winter Wonderland, and that's what I love about the event, is that everyone's so happy to be there. And then when that switch gets flipped and you see 800,000 lights turn on all simultaneously, it's just, there's no other feeling that can really emphasize that enough.
Yeah, I ask this because you're still fairly young. What do your parents think about this? Like seeing you on TV and getting ready for this and being the head of Papillion, getting Papillion Days going. What do they think about it?
I think they're impressed, and they've always been supportive. And they're part of those volunteer hours that were lumped in that 450 hours worth of time. So they're really supportive of it. I think it's really important for people to also understand it's not just me working. It's my brother, my sister, my mom, and my dad. They all volunteer all the time to come down and help. So it's really a family effort to make something like this machine move. Again, that's something that the public doesn't necessarily always see that side of, but you can't, the reason they say it takes a village to make a village run, there's a reason for that, and I'm lucky to have a strong village in my backyard.
Pretty cool. Joe, we appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, and we'll get done again next year.
Yeah,
all right.
Perfect.
Join us again next time when we talk to someone again who truly helps make Papillion feel like home.